Why do Americans need a guarantor for European housing? Imagine trying to find a place to live in Europe and hitting a wall because the landlord wants a guarantee you might not have. That's often the case for Americans moving abroad. When renting in Europe, landlords want to be sure their rent will come in on time. Since many Americans don't have a local credit history or employment record, they often lack proof of financial stability in that country. A guarantor acts as a safety net for landlords, promising to pay the rent if the tenant can't. In many European countries like France, landlords see a guarantor as a way to reduce their risk. They prefer someone who lives nearby or within Europe because it makes communication easier if issues come up. Usually, the guarantor needs to have a steady income, often at least 3 times the monthly rent. For example, if rent is €1,000 a month, the guarantor should earn at least €3,000 per month. They also usually need a permanent job, like a full-time contract, to show they can back up the promise. If Americans don't have family or friends in Europe who can be guarantors, they can turn to private companies that offer guarantor services. These companies review your financial documents and creditworthiness. They then agree to cover the rent if needed, for a fee. This makes it easier to rent without a personal guarantor and speeds up the process. Understanding this requirement is important because it affects your overall housing costs. Using a guarantor service can cost a few €100, depending on the provider. It's also good to know that having a guarantor or using a service can make your rental application stand out in competitive markets. Landlords see it as a sign you're serious and financially reliable. So, Americans need a guarantor for European housing mainly because landlords want security against missed payments. Since many Americans lack local credit history, a guarantor or guarantor service helps fill that gap. Preparing this in advance can make your move smoother and help you find the right place to live, work, or retire in Europe without stress.